Greetings adventurers, Delver here. This video is a direct follow-up to my previous one, so if you haven't seen it or you're unfamiliar with the ongoing controversy around the open game license, I'd suggest you go and watch that one first so you're up to speed. For everyone else, I'll skip the backstory and get straight to the point. WotC has released the next iteration of the About OGL. This new draft, which actually is a draft this time, is version 1.2, which had me a bit confused because in their last update they were calling it version 2.0. Regardless, it's been making the rounds alongside their new survey, and to my surprise, I've actually seen some people call it a step in the right direction. Is it really? Well, let's find out. Starting off with what you could generously call the good, they've dropped the 25% royalty fee, and you no longer have to register your content, though it's not clear if you still have to report sales data or not. There's no more mandatory license back clause, sort of, and the license will no longer be applied retroactively to already published material. Unfortunately, that's where the good ends. Wizards say they intend to release the core rules of D&D under a Creative Commons license, which they claim they cannot revoke. Now at first glance that might sound like a good thing, however as many, including myself, have pointed out, the fundamental rules of D&D are not legally protectable to begin with, and the document makes it clear that only the rules will be CC licensed, not the SRD text describing those rules, meaning this concession literally concedes nothing. The document also states that OGL 1.2 will be irrevocable, but take note of how they define this. Content licensed under this license can never be withdrawn from the license, which only means published content cannot be retroactively delicensed or forced to update to a new license. It says nothing about the license itself being irrevocable, because obviously they still intend to revoke 1.0a. This also means that their attempted reassurances about modifying the license are empty as well. It doesn't matter if their ability to modify this license is limited when there's nothing restricting them from simply issuing a new license and deauthorizing 1.2 just like they're attempting to do with 1.0a. And now we come to the really bad stuff. The one that's been getting the most attention is the morality clause. WotC can revoke your license over hateful, harmful, illegal, or obscene content or conduct. Yes, conduct, as in anything you do as a person or company. Furthermore, it is up to WotC's sole discretion to determine what qualifies as hateful, harmful, illegal, or obscene. They're literally giving themselves carte blanche to ban you for any reason, even one invented from whole cloth. Because make no mistake, this has nothing to do with combating hateful content. The only ones publishing offensive D&D material are WotC themselves. This is just a virtue signaling smokescreen for a monopolistic power grab. Oh, and did I mention you're required to waive your right to contest any of WotC's morality rulings in court? There's actually quite a lot of waiving going on in this document, like waiving your right to participate in a class action lawsuit, or trial by jury. And remember how I said the license back requirement had been rescinded? Well, that's only partly true. Technically, WotC doesn't have the right to take your content, and technically you can sue them over it, but of course you've waived your right to trial by jury, and you're only allowed to sue for damages, not injunctive relief. Oh, and WotC will revoke your license if you challenge their ownership of anything, so while you can't injunction them, they can still injunction you. And even if you somehow manage to win, well, you've still had your license revoked, and they don't have to stop selling the stolen material. So in the end, you lose either way. If you were wondering why they conceded on royalties so quickly, it's because it was never about money, it was about control. And speaking of control, WotC is still trying to kill off rivals in the VTT market. They're not trying to outright ban them anymore, but the new license states that VTTs are only allowed to mimic the functionality of an actual tabletop. Animations, such as spell effects, are explicitly forbidden, and if that's the case, then presumably other elements like fog of war, indications for line of sight and light level, and automatic damage and modifier trackers would also presumably be prohibited. Anything that would make a VTT feel, quote, too similar to a video game, which funnily enough is both an admission that 1D&D is in fact a video game, and also confirmation that third-party video games are prohibited. WotC has had 3 goals from the beginning: lock down third-party content, crush rival VTTs, and prevent anyone from forking the system. That's why they had to revoke 1.0a. None of that has changed whatsoever. Therefore, any supposed concessions or reassurances made in version 1.2 are utterly meaningless. It doesn't matter that they won't charge royalties anymore because they still control the ecosystem. It doesn't matter that they don't force you to license back your content because they can just take it anyway. It doesn't matter that they aren't banning VTTs because they can just limit their functionality to the point they can no longer compete. It doesn't matter that they can't modify the license in whatever way they want because they can still deauthorize and replace it whenever they want. In short, you'd best disregard any notions that 1.2 is an improvement in any meaningful sense, or that this somehow proves WotC is willing to listen. That's bogus. WotC has conceded nothing. All three of their malicious, anti-competitive goals are still firmly in place. If anything, this new document just highlights what bad faith negotiators they are. Don't give them an inch, or they will take a mile, and then revoke your license for good measure.
We will hold the